There's a kind of silence only a father knows, not the silence of peace, but the kind that fills a room where your name used to matter. This is Revenge Files, where the stories we tell aren't about spite. They are about justice, about the quiet strength of men who gave everything and got nothing in return. If you believe dignity shouldn't be disposable, subscribe, stay, and listen. Because today's story is one you won't forget. Title: They replaced me with her stepdad, so I took back the house I paid for. It started with a voicemail I didn't recognize. "Hey, Mr. Harrison, this is Megan from Evermore Events. We're finalizing the guest list for Emma's big day. Just confirming dietary restrictions for the rehearsal dinner. You're marked vegetarian." The first thing that struck me wasn't the name. It was the tone, polite, professional, like I was just another plus one, not Emma's father. I let the message play twice, then a third time, and when it ended I sat there, phone still in my hand, realizing something no parent wants to admit. My daughter was getting married and no one had told me. No save the date, no call. No mention of the man she used to call daddy. Nothing but a third-party coordinator confirming tofu preferences. That's how I found out. Not from Emma, not from her mother, but from a stranger hired to count chairs. I suppose I shouldn't have been surprised. The distance between us hadn't grown overnight. It had taken years of slow, silent edits, moments when I was gently erased. The first time she called her stepdad dad, the Christmas I spent alone after she went skiing with Tom's family, the Facebook photos where he stood proudly in the father-daughter dance pose and I was tagged in nothing. But this was something else, not just an omission, a decision. I scrolled through her Instagram later that night. There she was, Emma Claire, trying on dresses, laughing in hotel lobbies, doing champagne toasts with dad. Not me. He wore a blue suit with a flower pinned to the lapel as if it were a badge of earned fatherhood. And in the caption she'd written, "Couldn't do this without my real dad." Real dad, I had to read it twice. Not biological, not John, just real. A word that erased a lifetime. They always say time heals, but that's a lie. Time doesn't heal. Time reveals. It shows you who they've chosen to remember and who they've chosen to forget. But what they didn't know was, I still own the house they planned to get married in. The one with the white fence and wraparound porch. The one I bought the year Emma turned 7. The one where she learned to ride her bike. The one she said felt like a forever home. They forgot that part. They thought I was gone, invisible, erased. But I hadn't gone anywhere. I was just waiting. Because sometimes the most powerful move a man can make is silence and a signature. There's a kind of love that never makes the photo albums. It doesn't come with applause or hashtags. It's not the kind you see in wedding toasts or viral videos. It's the kind that works nights so the lights stay on, that drives across town with a spare inhaler, that skips lunch for a month to afford a dress for a school dance. That's the love I gave. It's not glamorous and no one remembers it, but I do. Emma was 5 when her mother and I divorced. There was no shouting, no court drama, just the quiet sound of a family unraveling. Her mother moved on first, new job, new friends, new last name. I stayed. I stayed in the house, kept Emma in the same school, the same bedroom, the same Saturday pancake routine. Because some things, I thought, shouldn't have to change just because adults fall apart. I gave up promotions to keep a flexible schedule. Worked weekends at the hardware store when the factory cut my hours. Spent my 42nd birthday assembling a dollhouse at midnight because Emma wanted the one with the tiny chandelier. Her mom sent money sometimes, but it was me who took her to doctor visits. who waited in the car after school when she cried after a fight with a friend, who kept the nightlight on longer than needed because monsters can't tell time, Dad. I remember one December when I couldn't afford a Christmas tree. I borrowed one from the church basement, one of those old plastic ones with stiff branches and missing lights. I decorated it with ribbon from the dollar store and ornaments made out of cinnamon dough. Emma said it was magical. She said it smelled like cookies and snow. I said nothing, just smiled, because I couldn't tell her we had $6, 38 in the bank. When she turned 16, I gave her the keys to my old car. Not because it was ready, it wasn't, but because she was. I stayed up 3 nights fixing the brakes and replacing the serpentine belt. It still stalled at stop signs, but she never noticed. She just laughed, windows down, music up, free for the first time, and me. I watched from the porch, a wrench still in my hand, grease under my nails, and a smile I didn't have to fake. Love, for me, was never loud. It was showing up, every time, in every season, in every version of Emma, from pigtailed little girl to college-bound woman. And yet, when the wedding came, there was no slideshow with those memories. No speech that said, "My father built the life I now walk into." They gave the microphone to Tom, the stepdad, the man who bought Emma a MacBook and front row concert tickets, the man who showed up when the heavy lifting had already been done. And maybe that's what stung the most, not that he loved her, but that they forgot I did it first and longest. But see, there's something they didn't understand. Sacrifice leaves a paper trail. Bank statements, school forms signed at midnight, tuition checks with my signature, the mortgage still in my name. They may have edited me out of the story, but I was still on every line that made it possible. There are losses that come loud, slammed doors, raised voices, goodbye texts sent at midnight. And then there's the quiet kind. The kind that erodes you grain by grain like water on stone. You don't notice at first, until one day you look around and realize you're gone. Not absent, not forgotten, just quietly removed. It started small. Emma got a new phone and I wasn't in her favorites anymore. Then I noticed our old photos disappeared from her profile. Her bio used to say daughter, dreamer, daddy's girl. Now it just said Beckett family, grateful. I asked her about it once. She said, "Oh, I just wanted it to be more neutral." Neutral, like fatherhood is a political stance, like being my daughter is something that might offend a follower count. On her graduation day, I sat in the 4th row, behind Tom, behind her mother, behind the guy who used to mow our lawn who, apparently, now got front row seats because he came with the Beckett family. I wore the tie Emma bought me when she was 12, bright yellow with tiny suns on it. She used to say it made me look like summer. That day I just looked misplaced. After the ceremony, she hugged everyone in her circle, laughed, posed, smiled. And when she got to me, it was a side hug. One of those awkward, half-armed, polite embraces you give to someone from church you barely know. "Thanks for coming, Dad," she said, and then turned away before I could even reply. I wasn't invited to her college orientation. Tom went. He took photos of the dorm setup, tagged her in the post, captioned it, "Helping our girl start her next chapter, so proud to be your dad." 10,000 likes, heart emojis, comments from her friends saying, "Your parents are goals, such a sweet family." I scrolled for 10 minutes, not one mention of me. No one even knew I existed. At Thanksgiving, I sent her a message. Asked if she'd be joining my side of the family that year. She replied, "Actually, I'll be with the Becketts. We're doing a thing in Vermont. Tom's booked a cabin and everything. Hope you understand." She ended the message with a leaf emoji, as if a seasonal symbol could make up for the absence. I sat at the table alone that year, made cranberry sauce from scratch, set out 2 forks anyway, just in case she changed her mind. She didn't. Some people disappear with a scream. Others, they just fade. And when you try to hold on, you're told you're making it about you, that you should be proud from a distance, that love is letting go. But no one tells you what to do when letting go feels like dying by inches. I didn't raise her to forget me, but somehow that's what happened, and I kept telling myself it was okay, that she was growing, changing, busy, but deep down a quiet voice whispered something else, something I didn't want to hear, until I couldn't ignore it anymore. You're not part of the story anymore. They say weddings bring families together, but sometimes they show you who's already left. When the formal wedding invitation finally arrived weeks after I heard about it from the event planner, I knew better than to expect grace. Still, I hoped. The envelope was addressed to Mr. John Harrison. No father of the bride, no handwritten note inside, just a seat assignment card, 2 meal options, and a program. That's where I saw it, page 3, in neat, gold-embossed font. Father of the bride, Mr. Thomas Beckett. There it was, like a verdict, like the rest of my life had been a warm-up act and Tom, the stepdad, had taken the lead role without auditioning. He would walk her down the aisle. He would give the toast. He would be the one in the photos with his hand over hers, smiling as if he'd raised her from cradle to career. And me, I would be at table 9, next to distant cousins and someone labeled Dad's friend, in pen. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to say something. But I didn't. Because what do you say when your daughter rewrites her life and edits you out like a typo? The wedding was held in the very backyard of the house I paid for. The same white 2-story with the climbing ivy and the wooden deck I sanded down by hand. The same garden where Emma used to catch fireflies, where she once cried in my arms after losing her first pet, where I promised her after the divorce that this would always be her home. Now it was a venue. They'd strung fairy lights between the trees, rented golden chairs, covered the deck in silk and flowers. It looked like something out of a magazine, but all I saw were ghosts. Tom stood at the altar in a tailored suit, not as the groom but as the father figure, the man who would give her away. He smiled like he belonged, and maybe he believed he did. When the music started, I looked around. Everyone rose, all eyes turned. Emma appeared radiant, hair pinned up, veil cascading, bouquet trembling in her hand. And then she took his arm, Tom's, not mine, and she smiled at him. The same smile she used to give me when I picked her up from school with a milkshake in the passenger seat. I sat frozen. People whispered. Someone behind me said, "I thought her real dad was coming." And someone else replied, "Oh, that is her real dad." After the vows, after the applause, after they kissed and walked back down the aisle like something out of a dream, Emma passed by me. She didn't stop. She didn't even glance. And in that moment, I understood something fully, painfully, finally. I hadn't just been replaced. I had been rebranded, from father to footnote. I left before the cake was cut, before the speeches, before Tom raised a glass and said something like, "Being your father is the greatest honor of my life." Because if I'd stayed, I might have believed him. But what they didn't know, what no one in that golden-lit garden realized, was this. The house still belonged to me, on paper, by law. Every rose bush, every stone path, every square foot of soil they were dancing on, mine. And that night I went home not bitter, not loud, just certain. because when they raised their glasses to the real dad, they did it in my living room. And that would be the last toast they made under my roof. This is where the daughter or someone in the family finally speaks up, but not with remorse, not with understanding. Instead, it's entitlement that shows itself, dismissiveness, the belief that the father owes them something and always will. This chapter deepens the wound, but also ignites the resolve. Chapter 5, The Voice of Entitlement. It was 3 days after the wedding when Emma called. Not to say thank you, not to ask how I was, not to apologize for rewriting me out of her life. She called about a storage shed. "Hey, Dad," she said casually, like we hadn't spent the last weekend in separate emotional universes. "Tom and I were wondering if we could clear out the back shed. We're thinking of converting it into a little guest space, maybe even an airbnb. Airbnb. In my house." She said it like it was hers, like her name was on the deed, like the man she called Dad hadn't used my bricks as his dance floor. I paused before answering, not out of confusion but restraint. "Emma," I said gently, "you know the house still belongs to me, right?" She laughed, lightly, almost dismissively. "Technically, sure, but Mom's lived there for over a decade. I basically grew up in that house. It's more ours than yours now, don't you think? Ours. Not his, not hers. Ours." That word rang in my ears like a bell signaling war. She wasn't finished. "I mean, you've got your apartment now, right? You're not even using the place. And Tom's been thinking about some renovations that would really increase the property value. We'd cut you in, of course." Cut me in. As if I were the silent investor in their little fantasy. I wanted to ask her if she remembered the nights I fell asleep on the couch waiting for her to come home safe. If she remembered the power outages and how I kept the fireplace going just so her room stayed warm. If she remembered who installed the lock on her door when she told me a boy from school made her uncomfortable. But I didn't say any of that, because she wouldn't have heard it. Entitlement is a funny thing. It doesn't walk in wearing a crown. It shows up in assumptions, in tones, in the casual way someone claims what you bled to provide. Emma wasn't trying to be cruel, not deliberately, but she had grown used to me saying yes, to me funding her life and fading quietly into the background, to being the foundation she never had to thank, just stand on. "I'll stop by this weekend," she said. "Tom wants to measure the backyard. He's thinking about adding a pool on land he didn't pay for, in a yard I used to mow in July heat until my back ached and my shirt clung to me like a second skin." I said nothing for a long time. Then finally I answered. "Emma," I said slowly, "don't make any plans just yet." She sighed. "You're not going to be difficult about this, are you?" That was the moment, that phrase, "you're not going to be difficult," as if claiming my own property was an inconvenience, as if having boundaries made me a villain. She hung up shortly after that. No love you, no thanks, just a soft click and silence. But in that silence something shifted in me. I had spent years being accommodating, generous, quiet, but now I was done. Because when someone sees your kindness as weakness, that's when it's time to speak in a language they can't ignore. And mine was printed in black ink, on legal stationery, folded in an envelope, waiting. There was no outburst, no slammed phone, no storming into the backyard demanding they pack their things and leave. Just silence, and then resolve. That's the thing about quiet men. They don't break, they decide. That night I sat alone at my small kitchen table, the one in my rented one-bedroom apartment. The place smelled faintly of old wood and coffee grounds. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I pulled out the manila folder I hadn't opened in years. Inside, the deed to the house, the original purchase agreement, every receipt, every mortgage payment signed in my name. I ran my hand over the paper like it was the surface of some long-buried artifact. It felt strange touching something so cold that had once been so warm. That house was my memory museum, and somehow they had turned it into a stage play, a photo op, a curated life I wasn't invited to participate in, let alone own. But here it was in black and white, still mine. I called a lawyer the next morning, not a firebrand, not someone hungry for conflict, just a quiet man with a calm voice who believed in boundaries and contracts. He asked me a few questions, listened carefully, then said, "You're within your rights, entirely, and if I may say, it's past time." He emailed me a draft of the eviction notice that afternoon, clean, legal, no venom, just precision. The address was still in my name. There was no lease, no rental agreement. They lived there on memory, not legality, and memory doesn't hold up in court. I printed the letter on thick paper, folded it once, slipped it into a plain envelope. No note, no message, just the facts. I'd made up my mind, and I didn't need to explain it anymore. I'd spent years apologizing for taking up space in their lives, years making myself small so they could feel big. But I was done kneeling in a house I built. People always ask what the breaking point is, but most of the time it isn't one big thing. It's a slow drip, 1,000 tiny moments you swallow until one day you're full, and all it takes is one more drop. Mine came when my daughter, my own flesh and blood, asked if she could turn my shed into a rental property, and called me difficult for hesitating. She didn't know it, but she was already living on borrowed time. I sealed the envelope, wrote the address in my own handwriting, and on the back, just above the fold, I placed one small piece of tape. The kind I used to seal Emma's birthday cards with, the ones that held $20 bills and notes that said, "Love you always." Only this time there was no money inside, just a notice, and a message she wouldn't see until she opened it. "This is the last thing I'll give you for free." I didn't send the letter right away. No, first I walked the perimeter of the house, late evening. No one saw me. They were inside, laughing probably, planning another barbecue maybe, discussing where the pool would go. I stood there just beyond the hedges. I could still hear the creak of the porch I built with my own hands. The front door still had the same scratch from the day Emma rode her bike straight into it. I didn't need keys to remember this place. It lived in me. Back at my apartment, I began pulling everything together. Deed, tax records, mortgage documents, photos not the digital kind but the real ones, dusty, creased, of Emma and me building a snowman in that same yard, of her on my shoulders while I strung up Christmas lights, proof, not just of ownership but of presence, of time served. I created a folder on my computer called Property Control. No emotion, just evidence. Then I logged into the county clerk's system. The house was still listed under John Harrison. No secondary owner, no co-signers, no transfer, mine. They'd never even thought to ask me to change it, because somewhere deep down they thought I wouldn't. They thought I'd always be the man who paid quietly, gave generously, and disappeared when told. They mistook stillness for surrender. They forgot that dignity has a shelf life. I drafted a letter to Emma, not the eviction notice. Not yet, just a simple document, notice of intent to reclaim sole use of property. The language was civil, the tone was neutral, but the message was clear. You were guests in a home I built. You treated me like a ghost. That ends now. Then I visited the house again. This time, during the day, I stood across the street dressed in work jeans and a windbreaker, the kind of outfit that makes you invisible in the suburbs. Tom was in the yard trimming hedges with an electric cutter. He waved. I waved back. He didn't recognize me at first. Then, as I started walking away, I heard his voice. "Hey, John, right?" I turned. Yes. He jogged over, wiped his hand on his pants like we were about to shake. "We were actually meaning to talk to you about the plumbing. Seems like the pipes under the kitchen sink are leaking again." I looked him in the eyes. "I'm no longer the landlord," I said. "I'm the owner." He blinked. "Oh, right. Well, same thing, isn't it?" "No," I said. "It isn't." That was when I knew it wasn't just Emma who took me for granted. It was both of them together, entitled, assuming kindness was a contract, but they forgot something crucial. I still held the pen. I didn't need to yell, didn't need to argue, didn't need to explain myself. The house was an asset, one I built, one I funded, one I protected. And now it was going to protect me. Because when they chose to treat me like I was disposable, they also forgot. I still own the ground beneath their feet. It started on a Thursday. No reason in particular except I liked the symmetry of it. A full week before the eviction notice would be delivered. 7 days. 7 chances for them to realize what they were standing on. None of which they took. I met with the lawyer again. His office was quiet, sterile, the kind of place where life-changing decisions get printed on standard A4 paper. "I want to do this clean," I told him. "No drama, just the law." He nodded. "You've been more than patient." He printed everything in triplicate, folded it once, handed it to me with a simple instruction. "Don't tape it to the door, send it by certified mail, let them sign for it." There was something so elegant about that, so American, so final, not a confrontation. Just a signature, proof that they received their own reckoning. I spent the next few days like a man preparing for winter, organizing files, making copies, taking photos of the property, the cracks in the driveway, the unapproved alterations, the broken shutters they'd never fixed. I documented everything, not to destroy them, but to protect myself. Because if they wanted to make noise, I wanted receipts. On Sunday, I returned to the house one last time. Emma wasn't there. Tom was grilling in the backyard, listening to music from a Bluetooth speaker. He didn't see me, didn't notice the way I looked at the deck he built without a permit. The trash bins left out 2 days too long, a violation of HOA rules. The way he parked across the sidewalk like it was his kingdom. I didn't say a word, just took a photo and left. Back in my apartment, I placed the eviction notice into a new envelope, addressed it in calm, clear handwriting. Then I placed it on the counter, not mailed yet, just waiting. There was still time for a phone call, time for an apology, time for her to remember who built the floor she danced on, but it never came. Instead, I got a text from Emma. "Hey, Tom says you stopped by again. Everything okay? If it's about the plumbing, we can call someone, or if it's something else, let's not make things weird, okay?" Let's not make things weird. That was her olive branch, a shrug in text form, like she was offering peace in exchange for silence, as long as I stayed useful, invisible, and agreeable. As long as I didn't rock the boat they sailed on, even if it was my dock. I didn't reply, because the countdown had started, and when men like me go quiet, it's not surrender, it's precision. 3 days, that's how long it would take by certified mail. 3 days until Tom would open a letter he never thought would come. 3 days until Emma would learn what happens when you build a future on borrowed ground. They had called me difficult, dismissed me as outdated, replaced me in name, role, and title. but the title that still mattered. Loner. It arrived at 10:17 a.m., signed for by Thomas Beckett, received with the same hands that once held a champagne glass on my back porch, toasting a life he didn't build. The delivery was clean, documented, verified, eviction notice officially served. I got the delivery confirmation on my phone, a soft chime, just one sentence. Your certified mail was delivered and signed. That was it. Months, years, really, of being overlooked, repackaged, ignored, all reduced to that one cold confirmation. I sat with it, didn't celebrate, didn't gloat, just breathed. 2 hours later, the first call came. Tom, I didn't pick up. A second call, then a voicemail. John, hey, this has to be some kind of misunderstanding. We got a letter here, something about vacating the premises. Look, I know you're probably upset about some stuff, but surely we can talk about this. You don't want to do something you'll regret. Man, something I'll regret. He said it like I hadn't already regretted every year I spent being silent. An hour passed. Then Emma called. I stared at the screen, her name, my daughter, still saved in my phone under a nickname she gave herself when she was 9, M. Bear. I let it ring. Then the voicemail came. Dad, I don't understand. Why are you doing this? We didn't mean to hurt you, okay? It's just. Life moved on and Tom was there and I didn't think you'd mind. You always said the house would be mine someday. Someday. But not now, not like this. Not while I was still alive and watching from the outside like a stranger. I didn't respond because this wasn't about revenge. It was about recognition. For years I had signed the checks, fixed the plumbing, paid the taxes, and watched from the shadows. I didn't ask for praise. I didn't ask for loyalty. But I never thought I'd have to ask for basic acknowledgement, for a seat at my own table. And when I was denied that repeatedly and deliberately, I did the only thing they couldn't argue with. I invoked the truth in its purest form, ownership. They had 30 days. That's what the law allowed. 30 days to pack, to adjust, to reckon. I wasn't kicking them out tomorrow. I wasn't throwing their belongings into the yard. I was giving them the one thing they never gave me, grace. But grace isn't the same as permission, and forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. I looked out my window that night, city lights blinking, alone again, but not invisible, not anymore, because justice doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes in a plain white envelope. And sometimes the most powerful thing a father can do is remind them who laid the first brick. It started slowly, the way panic always does. First came the silence, the long, stunned kind. Then came the calls, one after another, from Emma, from Tom, from her mother who hadn't spoken to me in 2 years. I didn't answer any of them, not out of spite, out of discipline, because silence is no longer where I hide, it's where I operate. That evening I received an email, subject line, "Urgent please call." It was from Emma. She wrote, "Dad, I'm trying not to freak out, but this letter, it says we have 30 days. I just need to understand. Can you please explain why you're doing this?" No apology, no acknowledgement, just fear dressed up as confusion. They didn't understand how it had come to this, because they'd been so sure it never would. They believed I would keep absorbing the blows, smiling at the edges of their lives, paying for things while being erased from the story. But eventually, even ghosts have limits. The next morning, Tom called again. I let it go to voicemail. His voice wasn't arrogant this time. It was sharp, frantic. "John, listen, you can't just do this, all right? I've put work into this house too. You saw the new deck, the plumbing upgrades, that's sweat equity. You can't just throw us out over hurt feelings." Sweat equity. I laughed out loud in my apartment for the first time in months, as if stringing up fairy lights and installing a faucet was the same as paying off a mortgage for 2 decades. As if his long weekends and Instagram DIYs made him an equal stakeholder. As if the heart I buried in those walls counted for nothing. By day 3, the tone shifted again. Now it was Emma's mother. She left a voicemail in that brittle, passive-aggressive tone I knew too well. "John, don't be ridiculous. You know Emma didn't mean any harm. She's young, emotional, you were never great with that. Why punish her over a title? You're better than this." There it was, the narrative, the spin. Suddenly, I wasn't a father reclaiming his dignity. I was a punisher. I was the unstable ex. I was being petty. Because that's what people do when you finally stop letting them use you. They reframe your boundaries as cruelty, your silence as aggression, your decision as betrayal. But I wasn't punishing anyone. I was correcting something, not out of anger, out of necessity. Because when people take from you over and over again, your time, your love, your name, and then act surprised when you stop giving, that's not innocence. That's entitlement, and entitlement doesn't deserve comfort. It deserves clarity. That weekend, I got another text from Emma. Just 5 words. "Please don't do this, Dad." That last word hung in the air. Dad. It was the first time I'd heard her use it in months. But I didn't reply, because if she had to say it to save the house, then she never meant it in the first place. It didn't go viral, but it didn't have to. Sometimes all it takes is one post. It was Emma who made it public first. A week after the notice arrived, she posted a photo on Instagram. A soft shot of the backyard, her in a sundress, Tom beside her, both looking somber. The caption read, "When family turns their back on you, you remember who really stood by you. Thankful for my real support system even when others walk away." She didn't tag me, but everyone knew. The comments started filling in almost instantly. "Wait, what happened? You guys getting evicted? Isn't that your childhood home? This is heartbreaking." But it wasn't, it was cleansing. I didn't respond publicly, didn't post my side, didn't call in favors, but truth has a funny way of leaking out when receipts exist. It was her cousin, Rachel, who reached out to me privately. We hadn't spoken in years. She wrote, "I don't mean to intrude, but Emma's post doesn't sit right. I remember what you did for her, for all of us. We all knew that house was yours. You built her whole world. I'm so sorry she forgot that." That was the first crack in their story, and once cracks appear, the whole mask begins to slip. Soon, others started noticing. Her old high school teacher commented, "Funny how people forget who sat through all the parent-teacher nights alone." One of her childhood friends posted a throwback photo of me holding a young Emma on my shoulders at the school carnival. Captioned it, "This man never missed a single event, just saying. No tags, no confrontation, just truth." And truth, when spoken gently, carries more weight than rage ever could. Then came the wedding photographer. Apparently, Tom and Emma had stiffed him on the final payment. He posted an Instagram story with muted wedding shots and a caption, "Won't release full gallery until balance is cleared. Pro tip, don't throw weddings on land you don't own." That was the turning point, because now it wasn't just emotional, it was reputational, it was professional, and slowly the glow of their curated perfection began to dim. Her mother reached out again, this time angry. "Did you have to humiliate her like this? You're ruining her life." I didn't respond, because I hadn't ruined anything. They built it on false ground. I simply took my ground back. The final straw came when a local realtor, someone who'd worked with me years ago, posted a short video on Facebook about property rights. He never mentioned names, but the implications were clear. "Here's a reminder," he said. "If you're living in a home without your name on the deed, that's not ownership, that's privilege." Thousands of views, dozens of shares, and just like that the court of public opinion shifted. Not loudly, not all at once, but enough. People remembered. People knew. Emma didn't post for a while after that. No more sunny backyard photos. No more family brunches with hash blessed in the caption. Her world had gotten quieter, which was fitting, because now she could finally hear what silence sounds like when it's hers. It started with a podcast. One of those local community lifestyle shows, hosted by someone with a ring light, a soft mic, and a need for weekly drama. Emma was the guest. Her voice came through my phone, falsely sweet but cracking at the edges. "I don't want to name names," she said, "but I was recently blindsided by someone I trusted. Someone who used paperwork to destroy something sacred to me, my home, my memories." She paused for effect, then added, "I guess you really learn who your family is when property is involved." The host nodded sympathetically. You could hear it in her silence, that performative grief, the kind meant to go viral. They spent the next 20 minutes painting her as a survivor. Of what, I wasn't sure. Inconvenience, boundaries, accountability. But I listened to the whole thing. And when it ended, I didn't feel rage. I felt pity. Because if that was her defense, a half-truth in a low-rent interview, then she had already lost the only thing that mattered, credibility. Then came the online comments. A few strangers took her side. "This is elder abuse. Fathers like that are toxic. She should sue for emotional damages." But then came the others, people who knew me, knew the story, knew the math. "She lived there rent-free for how long? Sounds like she's mad the free ride ended. Let's see those property documents." And I could have posted them, the deed, the tax filings, the receipts, but I didn't, because when you're right, you don't have to shout, you just have to wait. A local reporter reached out next. He emailed me. "Saw the podcast episode. I'm writing a piece about generational property disputes. I'd love to hear your side, especially since the property records are public and seem to contradict her claims." I declined the interview, but I did send him one sentence. "Silence isn't guilt, it's restraint." 2 days later, the article dropped. It didn't name names, but it didn't have to. The title was clear enough. Entitlement and inheritance when generosity becomes invisibility. The final paragraph quoted me my one sentence. People read between the lines. And by then, Emma had gone quiet again. No more interviews. No more posts. No more curated narratives. Because once the public sees the wires behind the puppet show, the illusion breaks. And once dignity re-enters the room, manipulation becomes obvious. Tom tried one last time. He emailed me. It wasn't angry, it wasn't defensive, it was short. "We'll be out by the 25th. I assume you'll want the keys." I stared at that email for a long time, so polite, so hollow. I didn't reply because there was nothing left to say. Let them keep the keys. The locks would be changed anyway. They moved out quietly. No scene, no shouting, no goodbye, just a white SUV packed with boxes and promises they never kept. Tom didn't look at me when he dropped the keys off. He left them in my mailbox. No note, just keys. The man who once raised a toast in my backyard, who called my plumbing outdated and offered to cut me in on renovations, now reduced to silence. The same silence they once demanded from me. The house was empty for the first time in years. Still smelled like lemon cleaner and entitlement. Emma's old bedroom was stripped bare, except for a broken hair clip behind the door and a photo thumbtack left in the wall. That was all that remained of her presence. Not a thank you, not a note, not even a text, just absence dressed up as maturity. But consequences don't need theatrics. They just need time. And time was finally on my side. 3 weeks later, I heard through the grapevine that Emma and Tom were staying with his sister. That their savings, most of which had gone into planning the wedding, weren't enough for a deposit on a new place. That the rental market had changed. Suddenly, forever home wasn't just a phrase, it was a luxury. And the truth, slow, patient truth, had started to circulate. People in the neighborhood began to whisper that Tom never paid a dime in mortgage, that Emma had replaced her father with a speech and a suit, not with love, that the man who'd handed over the keys had never actually earned them. And me, I repainted the porch, trimmed the hedges, replaced the locks. The work was quiet, steady, almost holy. It felt like reclaiming something sacred, not just the house but myself, because for years I had been an extra in their story. Now I was the author again. The biggest shift, though, wasn't what left the house. It was what left me. The doubt, the guilt, the belief that being kind meant being quiet, that being generous meant being forgotten. I had mistaken patience for purpose, sacrifice for obligation. But now, with each drawer emptied, with each box removed from my floors, I was finally learning. You don't owe people access to the parts of you they chose to forget. I didn't evict them to punish them. I evicted them to protect the part of me they never respected. My place, my presence, my name. It was a quiet Sunday morning when she showed up. No warning, no text, just Emma standing on the front steps with a cup of coffee in one hand and hesitation in the other. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, just dimmer, like someone who'd walked a little too far from the truth and realized it didn't feel like home anymore. I opened the door. Neither of us spoke for a moment. Then she said softly, "Can I come in?" I stepped aside, not because I owed her that, but because the house was mine again, and letting her in wasn't weakness. It was choice. She sat at the same kitchen table where I used to braid her hair before school, where she once cried over a failed math test, where I'd placed a handwritten note beside her plate every birthday morning. Now she sat there like a guest, because that's what she was, a guest in the house I built, a stranger to the man she used to call Dad. She didn't look up at first, just traced a finger along the grain of the table. "I guess I deserved it," she said finally. "Maybe not all of it, but most of it." I didn't respond, because when someone finally starts telling the truth, you don't interrupt. She swallowed hard. "I was angry with you for a long time after the divorce. I thought you gave up. You never fought Mom, you never yelled, you just faded. And when Tom came around, it felt easier to call him Dad. He filled the space you left." I took a breath, let her finish. "But now I realize you didn't leave. You just refused to fight for a place you already earned. And I made that about me." Her eyes were wet now. "I don't think I ever thanked you for any of it, the mortgage, the school trips, the late nights. I just expected it." I finally spoke, "because I taught you to." She looked up, startled. "I made it look easy," I continued, "because I didn't want you to carry the weight I did. But love that's invisible is too easy to forget." She nodded slowly, her voice cracked. "I'm sorry." I believed her, but that didn't change everything. "I forgive you," I said, and I meant it. But then I added, "You still need to stay gone, because forgiveness isn't an invitation, it's a conclusion." She nodded again, this time with acceptance. "I get it," she whispered. "I lost the right to this house, but I hope I haven't lost you." I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. Because healing doesn't happen in a single scene. It happens in time. And if she wanted to earn her way back into my life, She'd have to do it the way I did for her, all those years ago. One quiet act at a time. The first Christmas after they moved out was quiet. No chaos. No lights tangled in frustration. No forced phone calls, just peace. I made a roast for one, played a scratched Nat King Cole record, let the fire crackle in the hearth of my own home. For once I wasn't pretending, not to be festive, not to be okay, not to be wanted. I was simply me. A few weeks later I got a knock on the door. It was Linda, the neighbor from 2 doors down. We'd spoken before in the polite way people do, but this time she brought a plate of cookies. "Neighborhood book club is starting again," she said. "We'd love to have you." I hesitated, then nodded, not because I liked small talk, but because healing doesn't happen in hiding. At that first meeting, someone asked me what I did for a living. I told them I was retired. But then I added something I hadn't said aloud in years. I'm a father. That's what I did. That's who I am. And no one corrected me. No one laughed. No one said was, instead of is. They just nodded because chosen families, they don't care about your resume, they care about how you show up. I started showing up more after that, helping a neighbor with her fence, teaching chess to a boy down the street whose dad was deployed, volunteering once a week at the local shelter, not because I needed to be needed, but because it reminded me I never stopped being capable of love, even when it wasn't returned. Spring came. I opened the windows, repainted the walls, filled the house with things that felt like mine. Not relics of a past I was locked in, but pieces of a man who was still becoming. I found an old photo of Emma, 7 years old, holding a paintbrush bigger than her face. I framed it, not out of nostalgia, not out of grief, but because that moment was still real, still good. It didn't need to be erased to move forward. It just didn't need to be worshipped anymore. And somewhere in all that stillness, I stopped needing an apology to feel whole, because I had found something better than closure. I had found myself. If you had told me years ago that I'd be sitting alone in this house, the house I once filled with lullabies and school projects and firefly jars on summer nights, I might have called it a tragedy. But now I call it peace. There are things you only learn when the noise dies down, like how loud absence can be, and how quiet love actually is. People think love announces itself, with flowers, with fireworks, with speeches. But real love gets up at 5 a.m. and warms the car. Real love keeps the porch light on long after you've stopped coming home. Real love signs every check and shows up at every recital and never asks to be thanked. Real love is invisible until you remove it. Then suddenly everyone sees what's missing. They called me difficult, outdated, petty, but what they really meant was, we didn't think you'd stand up. And when I did, they mistook it for cruelty. It wasn't. It was memory. It was grief with structure. It was love that finally grew a backbone. I don't know what the future holds for Emma and me. I hope it holds something, but if not, that's okay. Because I finally stopped living in waiting rooms, waiting for calls, for invites, for a seat at tables I paid for. I built my own table. And let me tell you something, it's smaller, quieter, but everyone who sits at it sees me. Not as a placeholder, not as a funding source, not as an inconvenience, but as a man, a father. So here's what I've learned. Respect doesn't beg. Love may be unconditional, but access isn't. And if you forget who carried you here, you may find the ground beneath your feet is no longer yours to stand on. To all the fathers out there, to the men who loved quietly, gave endlessly, and were thanked rarely, we see you, we hear you, and your story is not over. This has been Revenge Files. If this story moved you, if you saw a piece of yourself in these words, then do something. Subscribe, share it, tell your story, because silence may be powerful, but stories, they change everything.